Hey everyone, we are celebrating World Lymphedema Day and Lymphedema Awareness Month. And boy, do we have an amazing guest who has brought much awareness to the condition of lymphedema. He's a star, he's a celebrity. I want an autograph. His name is Sean Mulroney. Sean, it's so nice to have you here today.
Well, Brenda, it's an honor. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I feel like a king with that great introduction. I feel like I need to pay you for that. So,
Well, you can, no, I'm kidding. Here's what the cool thing is. Everybody, I met Sean through Lympha Press, which you all know. I work for Lympha Press. We didn't know he had millions of people watching his videos. We just took care of him because we cared about him.
yes, yes,
And you have a great story about Lympha Press, don't you?
yes, I do. It is a life changer. I mean, this is a dream. So, no, that's amazing. You didn't, and Lympha Press and my LymphaPod. I'm telling you what, the optimal. I got the everything, up of the line. So I'm just cranked up about it, Brenda. I mean, I'm excited.
So you've started to use the LymphaPod. How long? It's only been a little bit of time.
Well, I didn't really start you. I just got it. And
Okay.
Doug, of course, which is it's amazing. Doug Weissman is the one that is coming over Friday to get me set up. He was on vacation last week, or we would have already, been able to do that. So he's coming over Friday. He and a nurse, and they're going to get me set up, and I'm going to rock and roll in my
You
LymphaPod.
you
Yes,
are totally going to rock and roll in your LymphaPod, and we have to do a follow-up interview after you've
sure.
used it for a while. But
Yes,
how did you find out about this? Was this through our mutual friend Betty Westbrook,
yes.
CLT?
Well, it is. Betty's amazing. Had her on the podcast, on the Obesity Revolution podcast, because of lymphedema. I shot it from the rooftop. So lymphedema has been my Achilles heel. It's sort of been my frenemy. I have my lymphedema. I have a whole lobule on my leg. That's pretty good size. I call him Herbie because he's lived on me rent free for so long. And so he's not paying rent. He just lives there and took on a life of his own. And so, but anyways, Betty, we were talking, and I've been Lympha Press is what I've been going. I had, other ones, they just didn't work. The Velcro it just, and I'm not gonna, slam them. I'm gonna be gracious, but if I'm anybody, I'm very so Lympha Press and the LymphaPod, I got to see it was the first one revolutionary, especially for people that are obese. It goes up for people to 750 pounds, which there's nothing else out there. I mean, it's all it just amazing. And so I was like, that was in my, I was doing everything I can to get that, Brenda. That was like my on my top of the list to get my lymphedema because I got to get my lymphedema under control. I don't just say I have two weight losses, if you will. I have a fat weight loss and I have a water loss. Because lymphedema, people don't even understand. They just think go ahead and lose weight. When you have lymphedema, you're battling, your lymphatic system. And so I wanted this. I had a picture of it on my vision board. I'm going to get this, and I said, this is one. And it was slow going. I couldn't, get anything, as far as getting everybody in line. I didn't know how to do it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So when everything lines up, it lines up. Whenever it. So Betty was on, and then after we did the podcast, we started talking off the interview, and I said, man, Betty, I said, she goes, well, what are you doing for maintenance, or what are you doing for prevention? I said, well, my goal was I want to get a Lympha Press LymphaPod, and she said, really? She said, I said, yeah. I said, are you familiar with it? She goes, am I familiar with it? And I was like, well, tell me, do tell. And she goes, as soon as we get off the phone, I'm going to put a call in. And so guess who she put a call into? She put a call into you. And all of a sudden, the next day, I'm on the phone with Doug. Doug's calling me. he's in St. Louis, he's the representative here for Med Solutions, all the Lympha Press, everything like that. And he says, "Hey, Sean," and he started going. And my nurse, my doctor team here is awesome. And I called them. I say they knew I needed something like this too as well. So Erin, my nurse practitioner, called her, and matter of fact, she texted me. That was the first time back. The reason why it was so hard too getting Erin, she just would leave with having a child. So she
Mm.
came back that Monday, that same week. And so what I was going to do is I was going to text her and say, "Hey, can we talk?" Well, she texted me the day after I talked to Betty. Okay. And so she goes, "Hey, we need to do a phone visit, or a tele visit." And I said, "Okay." I said, Let's do it." I said, "Here, I got on the phone with her, told her about it. Boom. Doug and her got together. Boom. Within 3-4 days, Doug calls me up. It's 100% approved. Your insurance covering it. Boom. It's over here. It's going to be there on Tuesday. That was Thursday. It was here Tuesday. And he said when he gets back from vacation, he will get me all set up. So that's what I'm talking about. That's gonna. I mean, what else can I say, Brenda? I have it sitting here looking. It was like Christmas night, Christmas Eve, and I woke up the next day. It was like Christmas Day. It came to the door. I'm looking at it, and so.
Sean, I'm so happy for you. And we hear stories, and boy, I can't wait to hear your story after you've been using it, because the reason we do what we do is because we know life can be better for
Yes,
patients with lymphedema and
yes.
lymphedema and other conditions. And to hear stories of people who say, I can wear shoes again, or I can
Hmm.
play with my grandchildren again. I'm not stuck in a chair anymore. I can move.
Yes.
That's what warms our hearts. So we didn't know you were a celebrity, but now we do. Now we want the full scoop. Millions of views.
Yes.
Tell me your story.
Oh my. It, it I never sought for it. Number one, you know what I mean. It's like amazing. And of course, my whole past, Betty, is just myth, but a sort of a precursor to it. My dad died at 6, and was very traumatic for me. I'm a hoping I was sexually abused for about 2.5 years by a
Oh,
neighbor boy. And
oh.
I tell that because it's part of my DNA. It's part of where I got to where I'm at. I'm not a victim. I'm a victor. Okay. But these are elements that got me where I'm at. And then, I got involved in drugs and alcohol young age. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. Um, After that was all said and done, by 13, I was involved, addicted to drugs and alcohol. And from 13 to 21, I did more drugs and alcohol than a 40-year-old would. And so at 21, I gave it up. And so,
How did you just give it up?
well, I tell you what, it was a life turn, man. Number one, my faith, which I'm very vocal about. I don't push on anybody, but I got a relationship, number one, with Christ, who changed my life. And so what happened through that, I did an about face, and that was like the start of it. And then I was involved in I played sports in high school. I did really well. I played football and baseball. And then I was into music. I'm a drummer, and I was in multiple bands. My band, before I gave it up, was doing pretty well. We opened up for some bands, got to meet some pretty big bands back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so all through there, through my adolescence, I was doing things that I shouldn't have done. And so that was my past, okay, to where it led me all those things to the fibers of everything. To my stepdad, great provider, was verbally and mentally abusive. And so and people ask me, well, what's the abuse, the sexual abuse, the verbal abuse, or the mental abuse? What's worse? The verbal abuse and the mental abuse is much worse, because I can compartmentalize that, but I hear his voice all
Mm.
the time telling me that I was never good enough, and that my mom had to sort of overcompensate. So she treated me like gold. And by this time, my sisters and brothers were all out of the home. I was like an only child. And so anyways, it just wasn't good. Then getting involved in making bad choices. So I got out, went to college. I never thought I was going to go to college because I didn't have, I had a teacher tell me that if you had a vote to one legislator to succeed, I'd get it because I didn't take high school serious at all, Betty. And I frustrated him, no doubt. But I walked aimlessly. I didn't, I made bad choices, and the
But
choices
you literally had a come to Jesus moment
I
and
did.
hit the reset button.
Yes, I did. I really, really did. It was like, this is it. It's time to wake up. That's what happened. And so when that reset button hit, it was amazing. So go to the next level. I went to college. I started working with youth. And the reason is my first pain turned into a platform. So I used my pain and purposed it. So what I did was in 1998, my wife and I got married. Fast forward a little bit, and met my wife in 1997, July of 29th, 1997. We met, and we
Wow.
got
That's
married.
a long-term
I
relationship.
know. Oh, yes. And
Congratulations.
we got married July 29th, 1998, a year to the day that we met.
Aw.
And so she's been with me for 23 awesome years. My wife is my best friend, my rock, my supporter, through all the things that I have been through since I got, lymphedema, since I got my first bout of cellulitis, but I'll get into that real quick. But my wife was amazing. 1998, I was traveling all over the place. I would go to schools. I used to speak to about 150,000 students a year in public schools. And my
Wow.
wife and I started Teens of America, which is a nonprofit to help kids from drugs, alcohol, bullying, suicide, all that prevention type stuff. I put a program together, did a multimedia assembly in schools, and I just shared my story. I'm vulnerable because I believe there's great strength in vulnerability. And I'm real because then teenagers and kids, they have a built-in lie detector. They know if you're the real deal or you're not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can't lie to them. And so that was my passion. I mean, I built that and still run Teens of America. That's what
Teens of America. So if
yeah,
anybody wants to find that, is that
yeah,
the website name?
teensofamerica.net. Yeah,
Okay.
teensofamerica.net, which
Perfect.
we're revamping that big time. We are helping more schools than ever. I had to come off the road in 2009 because of my lymphedema.
So
Uh,
let's talk about that. So while you were doing your speaking and
mhm.
you turned your messes into your message,
Message, yes,
I love
exactly.
that phrase.
Yes, me too.
Were you showing the signs of lymphedema?
Oh, well, that's I'm glad you brought that up. So 2000, okay? When I got married, I was in the upper 300s, okay? I was functional obese person. I could handle this. I could drive, I could drive, run, walk, whatever. My wife and I, for our honeymoon, went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and we were able to go on the incline and stuff like that. And the whatever, we rode the cart across, all that stuff. So everything was fine. I mean, I was able to do a lot. So 2000, upper 300s. I went to this is 2 years into it. I was in Louisiana speaking, and I was at a conference, a youth conference, and I'm down there, and I just got so sick, Brenda. I got fluey, fevery, and all of a sudden on the inside of my leg, I was getting dressed. I noticed it was so red and swollen and hot, and I touched it. I thought I got bit by a spider. Okay, and sure enough, there was a nurse on board. My host said, "Hey, we have a nurse. You need to, would you like her to look at it?" I said, "Sure." And so I had her look at it. She looks at it. She goes, "No, that's not a spider bite. Looks like you have cellulitis." I
Mm.
said, "Cellulitis?" And I never heard of that was. And anyway, she goes, "When are you going out?" I said, "Well, I'm flying out tomorrow to go back to St. Louis." She goes, "Well, before you get on the plane," she goes, "I work at a doctor's office. I'm going to get you an appointment because I don't want you to get on the plane with that because it could, get a blood clot, yada, yada." And I said, "Okay." So the next morning, my host drove me to the doctor's office. The doctor checked me. "Yeah, that's cellulitis. That's an infection." I was like, "What?" And he's tried to explain it to me, but it went in one ear, not the other. Put me on antibiotics. Off I went, and I kept on getting cellulitis all the time. So what it would do is when I get the infection, that mass would grow, and it would go down a little bit. It would grow, go down a little bit, grow, go down a little bit, all the way till 2004, my doctor would put me on antibiotics, right? And then I was still traveling, and I'd get it on the road, and not being disgusting, but it would start oozing, and it was just it was very man.
Debilitating.
Yes, very, very, and it was very annoying, and just like anytime I take the antibiotic, fine, but 2004, I was on Cipro, and all of a sudden my wife's like, it's not getting better, and what it was doing was turning black,
Oh no. Oh,
and
I'm
the
so
whole
sorry.
leg.
Now this is your what, just one of your legs.
Yes, one of my legs, just one. Where the main, where I would get the cellulitis all the time.
Oh,
And so 2004, she goes, that's not, called a friend that's a nurse. She goes, no, you need to take him to the doctor
yeah.
ASAP. And I was getting blisters over I had blisters over 90% of my body. And all
Oh
of a sudden
God.
in the back of my throat too, it was like sore, it was swollen and very sore, like I had strep throat or something.
Hmm.
And so I went to the doctor. He goes, no, I could barely walk. I couldn't even get shoes on. And every time I would walk, the blisters would burst. And so I went there, and the doctor said, you need to go to the emergency room. I went to the emergency room, and mind you, I'd never been in a hospital overnight a day in my life up until 2004. I go in the hospital, they start hooking me up on stuff. They said they're keeping me. They admitted me, and all of a sudden, Dr. Nallor, who I'll never forget, he's an infectious disease doctor. He came in, he looked at me, he goes, "Hey," he goes, he's looking, he goes, "Okay, what's this?" He goes, "Is your mouth hurting?" I said, "Yes." He looked back in my throat, he stopped, he just threw his arms up, he said, "Stop everything." Pulled everything out, pulled me off of every IV, all that stuff. Boom. And he says, "You have Stevens-Johnson syndrome." And what I had is allergic reaction to Cipro. And had I taken one more dose, I would not be here. He said it was going into my mucous membrane, which then attacks your all your vital organs, and they were in the process that if once it gets there, I was one step away from it shutting down everything and them not bringing me back from that.
Oh, thank God for his
Yes,
wisdom and intervention.
yes,
And what
yes.
was this condition that you were diagnosed with?
Stevens Johnson syndrome.
I have never heard of that.
Yep, it's an allergic reaction to an antibiotic. You have anaphylactic shock, all that stuff. But Stevens-Johnson syndrome is where it starts attacking the antibiotic doesn't work. You have an allergic reaction. It starts attacking everything and shutting everything down, and just you die. Your heart stops.
Oh, thank goodness. So, okay. So immediately we stopped taking the
Yep.
antibiotic,
Yes.
but you still have lymphedema, cellulite. What did you have the lymphedema diagnosis at this point?
No. No. Well, barely. They said, every listen, and I'm doctors are dismissive toward obese people. Okay, we're treated almost like a subhuman, and it's because they don't know enough about it. So every doctor, I go in with a hangnail. Well, you need to lose weight. Oh, my arm hurts. Well, you need to lose weight. Well, I know I need to lose weight worse than anybody else does. And so they wouldn't do. I went to all kinds of different things, Brenda. I mean, I went to doctors, dermatologists, you know what I'm saying? Everywhere, but nobody would be able to say anything. They weren't being able to tell me a good proper way to do this to where they didn't know. I even went to the best vascular surgeon in St. Louis, and he just did a biopsy. That's all he did. He just wanted to make sure it wasn't cancer. And he's like, "Well, we could cut that off." You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, and then bye bye. Everything. I tried everything.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't give up.
Well, giving up is not in me. Was it discouraging? Yes. Was it a dark place? I was in a very dark place where I wanted to. I just wanted to. I was just like, praying to, take me, God. I mean, I was, discouraged being in. I've had 20 infections since 2000, and I've been hospitalized 14 times. Almost died 3 times from sepsis. I was in the hospital. My white blood count was 28,000, Brenda. 28,000, which is normal 7 to 10,000. And so I was at 104.9 fever. I was delirious. They brought ICU to me, and they told my wife to get, start making calls that it doesn't look good. And so I'm here. Because I'm, too much of a fighter that, it's taken me too far and this long to where I don't want it to beat me. It's not going to beat me. And then it's like this whole thing is that the obesity to where I guarantee it. So from 2000, whenever I went to the hospital in 2004, I didn't step on a scale for I don't know how long since before I got married. I'm upper 300s. When I was on the scale, there's a scale on the bed there. My wife says, I'm going to weigh you. It's right here. Boom. She hits it. She looked at me. She didn't want to tell me. 567. So from 4 or 5 years ago to there, I put on over 300 pounds, 250 pounds, just like that because of all these different things. And it started going into my abdomen. My abdomen has lymphedema, lymphatic fluid, and not realizing it started going up there because all my lymphatic system, your main lymphatic system, is between your stomach and your thighs. And my stomach was crushing my lymphatic vessels. And I just it was like an uphill, and then all of a sudden I went to on a scale and my highest recorded weight was 687. I believe I got to 700 pounds because I would get an infection. I could gain 65 to 70 pounds overnight of fluid.
What? Is
Yes.
that just a food sensitivity or is it just the reaction to infection?
I have, your guess is as good as mine. That's why the awareness that it's not there because number one, not a lot of people know about obesity. It's like it's the last socially acceptable prejudice, okay? And then number two, lymphedema, people just write it off. Oh, you're fat. Oh, you need to lose weight. You lose weight, you'll get rid of it. And while I agree with that, and things like that are said and done, and people talk about that, there's still more to it than meets the eye. There's still, it's not as simple as eat less, move more, or
Oh,
do this. And so 2009, my mom passed away. My mom was the greatest woman in my life. I mean, she put
oh,
up with me. She raised me. She told me this, whenever I came, to a reality and woke up, she said, you ignored my prayers for years. She said, you ignored me for years, but you couldn't ignore my prayers. My mom prayed for me, all of us. And she said, all hell could not take a child away from a praying mother. So my mom was a prayer warrior, and she died when she was 80. She died in 2011, and my mom was, just amazing. I mean, and when she passed away, I couldn't even get home to say goodbye. I had to say goodbye to her via FaceTime, and she was calling for me. She's on the onsets of dementia, Alzheimer's, and so what I did is my niece got me on FaceTime. She goes, Uncle Sean, Grand's not doing good. I said, okay. And she keeps calling for you, but she wasn't coherent completely. And so what I did, my four siblings were around, and me and my niece and nephews were around the bed. And my sister took care of her, Angie's like my best friend in the world too. And she was there, and I started talking to her. She didn't know any difference that I wasn't there. She could hear my voice because she was calling for me.
good.
And I said, Mom, you said you lived an incredible life. You have been a great mother to all of us. And there's nobody like you, Mom. And I said, I know you're getting ready to cross over and it's time to go. You're wanting to go where you've always been wanting to go. And so, Mom, it's time for you to go. And I love you with all my heart. And within 2 hours, she was gone. So she waited for me because I just got out of the hospital whenever she passed
Oh.
away. And so, anyways, that's the story to where I'm at, to where all these things is that all these ingredients and people said, hey, would you change anything in your life? Never. I don't regret anything because regretting is suffering for it twice, number one. And I said,
Ooh,
everything
ooh,
that
that
I
was,
did,
wait a minute,
yes,
Sean.
go ahead.
Say that again. That was for someone out there. Say
Yes.
that line about regret.
Well, I don't regret anything because when you regret, you're suffering for it twice. And why bring that pain up over and over again whenever everything was there and things line up, then I have to trust the process. So I don't regret everything. Nothing happens to you, it happens for you. And one thing that went all the way through my life is that my mother always taught me, she said, in everything, give thanks. She said, thank God for everything. And that's what, even the things that we don't like. And it's easy to be thankful for the things we like, but how about the things that we don't like? And that's why I say my lymphedema and my obesity have been my frenemies. It's been my friend and it's been my enemy, because it would have changed. Like I say, obesity, my obesity is a frenemy because obesity kept me away from fake, shallow people. Fake, shallow people wrote me off whenever they looked at me. But people who really know me and wanted to get to know me, they look past that. And the same thing with lymphedema. Oh, what's going on with your leg? It's like, here it is. People were genuinely concerned and people were for me. And that's what I say, is that these things happened for me and brought me where I'm at. And then my mom passing away that year, it was a dark year that year. And my wife was very good. I refrained from everything. I was still doing Teens of America, but I had other people doing it. I wasn't traveling, wasn't able to travel. And my wife was really concerned. But my wife, she never preached to me. My wife just loved me through it and was there for me. And, it took us 12 years to have our first daughter. And, we had infertility problems. And Maddie Grace, my 10-year-old, was born August 25th, 2010, changed my life. Then we had Livy in 2014. And then we had Mackenzie, December December 26th, 2016. So
Well, once you got this down pat, man, you just kept having children.
It was amazing. I mean, my girls, Brenda, were my why being manifested. It's like I wanted to do this, but I cut the umbilical cord, and I seen them. Got to see them come into to this life, and it was getting real. It's like, what if I die now? They're not gonna, they're gonna remember me in the picture. I don't want that. I don't want them just to see me in a picture.
So they really were part of what took you out of that dark season?
Oh, big time. Maddie Grace, they call her Madison. If you ask her, everybody calls her Madishon because she's her father's child.
Mm.
She is me, and she is me. She's so much like me. She has everything I do. My wife was just saying today, she's like, man, she picked up every bad quality of yours. He's like, there's none. She's not picked up any of the good, just all the bad. And I'm like, well, hey, but it's true. But she is amazing. She has, ADHD, has battled with all these, ADHD, anxiety, and even at the point of crossing over for bipolar, which we have fought, for that, and she has fought. She has an amazing team of people that are helping her with some medication, and she's done a 180. I mean, when she went to kindergarten, it was rough, but she is her father's child. I mean, she is. And then Livy, she's her mother's child, but she's, that elegant one. She has the couth. Maddie doesn't. Kenzie, she's her little terror. She's going to be a gang leader, and because her spirits are incredible and they are who they are, and we want them to be that way. And so, anyways, the main thing is that December 2016, I reached out to tons of trainers, 30 plus trainers, and they rejected me because I wanted to do something. Nobody, I would try to do this. And then I even that year, the year before, I was getting lymphedema therapy. That's the first time I got therapy or ever have known. And it was amazing how we figured out that my wife was talking to a woman, Chris, who that was the first one that let us on that there's lymphedema therapy. And then that's when I got diagnosed. I was getting therapy. I got a pump, and the pump, though, it wasn't working because getting around my trunk, the Velcro would come off. I felt like Chewbacca, and it just didn't do anything.
And I want to interject something here
Sure.
because there are many people watching who have lymphedema,
Yes.
who maybe have not had a good experience with pumps. And I agree, we will never talk about a competitive product. But I will say, if you haven't tried the Lympha Press, don't give up.
No.
Let's work together and try to get you a Lympha Press, because it is an easy experience. It is comfortable. It is effective. It doesn't sit in a closet and get dusty. It is user friendly,
Yes.
and we would
Yes.
love to help you out with it. So finally, you get
It
through
even
your
has an
dark
app.
season.
It has an app too. Also, Brenda,
You
that's the
can
thing.
run it off of your
Your
phone.
phone.
It's
I know.
awesome.
Well, and
Yeah, or your iPad.
yeah, but the thing is that whatever but they're not. It's not science based. You know what I'm saying? The one that I use. You know what I mean? It's not for somebody like me. It's just not. Just the way that happened. But the lymph. Whenever I got to see the Lympha Press. Boy, it was like hallelujah. That's what I felt like. Hallelujah. And I was just like seeing it was like, how you see them cartoons and it was like just like, stuff was coming off of it. Yeah, that's
Okay, so I want to ask you,
it.
how was the obesity revolution birthed?
Well,
And is that where everybody is following you?
okay, so here's what happened. I 2016 cut my daughter Kenzie's, umbilical cord that day. We had to get up. My wife had to have a C-section, and so we went to the hospital, dark 30 in the morning, and Kenzie was born, and there was something so different. Like now, three daughters, okay, but that day there was something different. Something was like, I wanted to do something. I was trying, but the thing is, back in 2009, I gave up fast food and pop. That was my first thing. Fast food. I haven't had a Big Mac in 9 years, and so pop. I used to drink my calories like nobody's business. I gave that up, and so that was like my first step, which it started leading me to that path. Every step was a different thing, to where take one step. The small tweaks lead to great peaks. Brandon, who's my trainer, which I'll share that with you, is that so I came home that day and my mother-in-law took my two oldest and she said, "Hey, I'll leave you here because at home so you can maybe get a nap or whatever." Well, it was like crawling at me because I was so fixed on my three girls and making a better life for them, at them coming home, that I knew I needed accessibility. That there was a gym 3 miles away from my home, and I remember driving in. I pass it all the time coming into my home. And so, anyways, I called that gym. I Googled the number and I called that gym. And I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a trainer." And she goes, "Well, there's nobody here right now. I could take a message." Well, the gift of gab that I have and just, passion that exudes is somebody, like an ever ready, but, I talk in my sleep. And so she said, "No, there's nobody here." She says, "But I'll take a message for you." And I dumped everything on her, Brenda. And you know, God love her. I mean, she just listened, and she was either going to say, "Okay, I'll leave us on," but she was so empathetic,
Hmm.
and she said, "Man, Sean," she goes, "I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm going to leave this on a trainer's desk, and you'll expect a call." Well, I heard that before. Hour later, I get a phone call from Brandon Glore, and Brandon reaches out to me, goes, "Hey," he goes, "Sean, I'm Brandon Glore from the gym, and I'm calling you." He goes, "Tell me a little bit." So we talked for about a half an hour, and he goes, "Well, I'd like to meet you." Well, I didn't know this at the time. He was not taking on any new clients at all. Okay. And so, anyways, he goes, "How about let's meet?" I said, "Well, this week is rough, Brand." I said, "My wife just had her third child." "Oh, okay, yeah." He goes, "Well, how about I come to your house?" I'm like, "What?" House calls, trainer. Like, what? He guy said, "Yeah." He goes, "How about tomorrow at 2? Can you do that?" I said, "Sure." So sure enough, he came to my house the next day. We sat down for 2.5 hours. He looked at me. He says, "You're ready for this, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready." He says, "Well,
Wow.
I'm going to take you on." I'm like, "What?" I said, "I'm deaf in one ear, Brand." I said, "Tell that in my good ear." And he said, "I'm going to take you on." I said, "Well, how much is that going to cost?" He goes, "I'm going to take you on for nothing." Like, "Are you what?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I'm gonna do this."
That's
And
remarkable.
it is. There's nobody like Brandon Glore. There's nobody like him. He's so mind you, here's the thing though. I asked him, I said, "Have you ever been obese?" He said, "Never, I've never been overweight." I said, "Okay." He went to 4 years of college, physiology, studied nutrition. He's a nutritionalist, all that stuff. Went to 4. He goes, I have the bill to show you. He goes, I pay it, all the time. My student loans, I'm still paying them off. And he says, I said, well, okay. I said, you know anything about lymphedema? He goes, no. I said, okay. And I said, well, have you ever worked with anybody my size? He said, never. He trains high performance athletes. And I said to him, I said, well, how's this going to work, Brandon? And listen to this, Brenda. Here's what he said. He said, you want to learn from me, obviously, right? I said, yes. He says, I want to learn from you. He says, let's learn together. And I said, wow. He goes, because Brandon, he'll tell you, he had all the assumptions of what obesity and what obese people do, that, every one of us are frumpy, dumpy, grumpy. You know what I'm saying? We eat 10,000 calories, which I have never done that. I am not a binge eater, and I have a bad relationship with food. I've never been addicted, and addiction is going to a carry because you have to have food. I just had a wrong relationship with the foods that I ate. You know what I'm saying? It got me here because I didn't get here by breathing air and drinking water.
Mhm.
And that's the assumption that every person that's morbidly obese, because of what television shows do, they always look them and they have in front of them on these TV shows that, hey, you got 10,000 calories in front of you and all these things to say, here we are. It's all a mess, an absolute mess, and it's all a lie. And
So you're
so
you're changing that lie and putting out some truth.
that's what happened. So think about this. With all that said and done, the obesity revolution exists because we want to identify, we want to make sure that we educate. We need to identify the problem. We need to educate people, even doctors, trainers, the health and fitness industry. Doctors are dismissive. Health and fitness doesn't know how to work with us, because Brandon never thought in his life that he'd be working with the morbidly obese. And then we want to inspire others because with our story, and then we also want to execute.
Brandon and you decided to
You
start the
took me on.
obesity revolution. Now, by the
Well,
way,
no, it didn't. It didn't. It wasn't that. That's not what it was. I mean, we didn't
okay,
decide that yet because we didn't know. I just was going to work
you
with him.
started
Because my life,
working out together.
yes, working out, nutrition, having a trainer, and so he's like, "Well, take a little bit." January 10th, 2017 was my first day in the gym. Talk about anxiety, because I haven't been in the gym forever and a day, and it was so hard for me to get there. I'm talking, I was scared to death. My white knuckling everything. When I pulled up to the gym and everything, it was so hard. It was like beyond, anything that, I could ever even imagine. Hold on one second again. Girls, we could thank God for it. Go listen to me. Go in your room, please, or be quiet. You know this. Thank you. You have other rooms in here. Anyway, sorry,
No,
Brenda.
that's fine. In 3, 2, 1. So you very with trepidation go
Yeah.
back into
Oh,
the gym. About how
well,
much did you weigh at that point?
as far as I knew I was 687 at least, at least. And so I went there, and matter of fact, I couldn't get weighed because there's not scales. Bariatric scales cost $2,000 to $3,000.
Mm.
And so I tried to get one. Yeah, everywhere I could go, I couldn't get one. And so I went to even bariatric centers, but you had to be a patient there. And then you know how I got weighed? I got weighed on a truck weigh-in station where trucks, backed up onto. And so that's where I got my first weigh-in. And I already had lost weight. I think I was down to 620 at that time. So at that time it was, but that's where we marked it. Okay.
So
And,
you and Brandon started to make progress together.
oh, exactly. And when I got to the gym that first day, it was amazing. So I did the battle ropes. Brandon said he wanted to do an assessment with me, but that was a lie. He had me do a full workout, and my hair was hurting. My fingernails were hurting, Brenda. I mean, it was, but I had him say, I said, here's what I want you to do, Brandon. I said, I want you to take this video of me, and I want you to take it. I want to put it on Facebook. So I put myself so far out there with accountability that I can't come back. And so he filmed me doing about a minute long of the battle ropes, you know. And so I put it out on Facebook on the 14th of January. It got 1.3 million views within 24 hours. And I started getting blown up all over the world. You know, hey man, that's incredible. Keep going, keep going. And then now 20 million views later, upward to 60 million impressions. You know, being featured in Forbes magazine, the New Year, New You. I never read Forbes, you know, let alone be in Forbes. I got featured in there, you know, this morning UK, which is the biggest morning show in the UK, like the Today Show. 25 million live viewers. They had me via satellited, and from, you know, it was 4:30 here, 10:30 there, and so from all that, I'm on these TV shows, in these magazines, and Fox too. Mandy Murphy took my story in November a year later, and when she took my story, that garnered just by itself 9 million views by itself, and it went viral. Every Fox station played my show, played my story, and
You
then
didn't expect
NBC.
any of this. This was not
No,
your goal. You were just trying to hold yourself accountable. And next thing you know, you're a celebrity.
there's
How did that feel?
overwhelming. Um, like, okay, it's like I just I don't know. I speechless. I mean, then that's hard
But
because
you
I'm
know,
thinking I can't. My pain was being turned into a purpose
yeah, and you
again.
know, all your speaking engagements and all of everything that you've learned through addiction and you're having your children and
Yes,
it all primed you for this very moment in time where you were able to
that's
walk into
good.
the spotlight and help others. And our time is running out, so
Yeah.
I want you to look at that camera. Someone maybe who is morbidly obese or feeling down because they can't get a grip on their lymphedema yet, and I do tell you, please contact me or
Yes,
Lympha Press. But
got to.
what would you say to inspire and give hope to our audience? You've already said a lot, but go for it.
Well, if you ain't dead, you're not done. And as long as you have red blood coursing through your veins, and as long as you have breath, you need to keep fighting because that's what we're creating. We got to create that in the advocacy of it to get people and inspire them. And you know what? You don't have to be perfect to inspire others. You just have to show people how you deal with your imperfections. And so my imperfections are there and I'm real. What you see is what you get. That's the other thing is people don't like the fake stuff. You know what I'm saying? People get out there what they are on camera or these influencers or you know you know what being social media famous is like being rich in Monopoly. It doesn't matter if you're not reaching people. Hey, yeah, 20 million views, whatever the case may be, upward to 30, 40 approaching now. You know, the thing is that all these things that are going on, I equip them to people because right now there are 30 million people in the United States that never come out of their home because they're immobile. They're afraid to come out in society. It has been wrong. They don't want to go to the doctor because they can't places to sit, which needs to change. And people aren't equipped for that. And you know what I want to do is I want to reach all 30 million people that have been bedbound, like Madden Tisney, my good friend, he's part of the Obesity Revolution now, hasn't been out of his bed since 2015 and he is working out day 35 in his bed right now.
Wow.
Day 35.
Wow, good for him. And the obesity revolution is something that if you're not aware of it, please do look it up and follow Sean's journey. We're going to circle back with Sean after he's been using his LymphaPod.
Yes.
LymphaPod designed for those people who couldn't find another garment to fit them. This is for you. Please contact us. We'd love to help you. And Sean, thank you for your time tonight. It was a joy and a privilege to interview you.
Well, Brenda, honor's all mine. I'm looking for it. I'm going to do whatever I want to be an ambassador for Lympha Press and for the LymphaPod. I mean, that's what I want to do. everything that you're doing, I will be there. I mean, this is my passion. So this is, it's me. I'm going through the pain and struggling, and it's only finding and now being here to where that's why I say don't ever give up, because people that are out there right now that want to give up, it's not time.
No.
And there's people out there that need it, and the Lympha Press, the LymphaPod, we'll get it. I mean, I got thousands of people that don't know where to go and turn. And now that I have that way, guess what? My main aim, I'm going to go for them, and I'm going to bowl everything over, because the thing is I'm different. People are refrained because they're overweight. Well, it sort of gives me that fire, you know what I mean, to say, okay, here I am, and they're messing with the wrong person. And like being with you, Brenda, and on here, and what you've done. Thank you, Betty Westbrook.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you, Brenda. Brenda Viola. I mean, Lympha Press. You are like, this is Taj Mahal. This is royalty that I'm in. I'm in the midst of, and I can't say anymore. Doug gave me a royal. I mean, he just like, here's what we're gonna do, and he's like, boom, boom. So it was like a perfect, just like a knife cutting through butter, a hot knife, and everything just flowed, and that's what's going to happen. And that's
Well,
those
your story and your journey is inspiring many people. And like I said, it was an honor to talk to you. And we're going to do this again.
you got it.
And
I'm
I
here.
thank you for your time. And thank you, everyone, for tuning
Yes,
in to this edition of the Lymphedema Channel with Sean Mulroney, the Obesity Revolution, and Lympha Press. Please contact me if we can be of service to you. Have a great night, everybody. See you soon.
bye.
Bye, Sean.
Yeah, Brenda, have a great night.